joined now from our studios in Lagos by the Director General of the Labour Party's Campaign Council, Akin Osuntokun. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Osuntokun, for coming in. And lots of stories of rising tensions in...
You're welcome.
Yeah, lots of stories of rising ethnic tensions in Lagos, and with it, the threat of violence. I mean, that's as bad as it can get. What's behind this ethnic tension, and is it all politically motivated?
Yeah, but let me quickly correct what you alluded to earlier. No, there are no two sides playing the ethnic card. It is only one side that is playing the ethnic card, and definitely not the Labour Party. Precisely is the APC. And of course, it is the tension itself is more contrived, than real. And it was precipitated, by the fact of the reality that issued from the presidential election conducted 2 weeks ago, which indicated that the Labour Party is ahead of APC in Lagos. Not just merely according to the figures released by INEC, but by the reality of the real figures, which had substantial margins, contrary to what was reported. Now, of course, people resort to regional cleavages, right? Is the cheapest recourse for desperate politicians in Nigeria to play it up either at the national level or at the subnational or state level. We saw that actually in the composition of the ticket of the three leading parties. The most emphatic was the ticket that was chose the same Muslim ticket. Now, this is a direct challenge, to the pluralism and diversity of Nigeria. And there is no reason, the only logical sense it makes is that the ticket is intended to weaponize Islam, religious division, to seek victory in the election. Because, as I said, I leave it to you or anyone to provide the logic behind, having a same-faith ticket in a country that needs more than anything else, national unity and integration. Now, so this is a kind of politics now that is being transported to the governorship election in Nigeria. The weaponization of division again. In the presidential election, from available resources, actually more Yoruba voted for Peter Obi than the Igbo. Now, the fact that there is a substantial presence of Igbo in Lagos, it's a universal, the reason behind it is universal. And that is the reason that we should be proud of, that it's cosmopolitanism. Everywhere in the world, and here in Nigeria itself, you see every state capital or urban centers tend to have a lot of diversity in the population, the comprising population. See, Lagos is still the commercial capital of Nigeria in every sense. It was the national political capital for many years. So ordinarily, this should explain, why there is this diversity of population. There is nothing peculiar to it. And nobody should then, contrive it into something that is sinister. You don't do that. Look, Rishi Sunak is from India. He's the Prime Minister of UK today. And of course, Barack Obama was president of US. The mayor of London is a Muslim.
Well,
So,
I mean, I don't
look,
mean
it's
to
not-
interrupt
this
you,
is a
but
fact.
it's all very good to cite those instances, and I think a lot of people would agree with you. But the question is, how do you think those ethnic tensions are likely to affect the governorship election in Lagos on Saturday? I mean, are we looking at all-out war, or is it not quite on that scale?
Well, the best person to answer that question probably will be the Inspector General of Police. I can only speculate, about the degree of tension but the kind of question, the person who can provide the answer to the question you have raised, is the Chief Security Officer, that's the President, and the Inspector General. They should know more about the security in Nigeria or Lagos State more than anybody. What should worry us is what I've said, highlighted earlier. The weaponization of the resort to, the weaponization of division. And as I said, it's only one side that is playing it, and they are using arguments that don't hold water.
Right, but in that case, let me jump in there again, and I apologize because we're losing time. But I mean, is it your sense that the security services and the state government are ready to live up to their duties to protect the citizens and ensure that they can vote in a peaceful environment in Lagos? Are you reassured?
Well, I expect that will be the case. I don't know the degree or the size of the security personnel that have been deployed to Lagos in anticipation of any breakdown of law and order. What should worry us is those people, this desperate recourse, to keep on fanning the embers of, the ethnic division in Lagos, just to score a point, that. So it's not. I have a reasonable expectation that the elections will be largely free of breakdown of law and order. But having said that, now it also depends. It takes two to tango. If any side of the divide is dead set, on violence, because the stakes are so high, there's nothing that fuels violence more than desperation. Desperation to conceal the truth, to want to hold on to what does not belong to you. So this is the case. There are several aspects to security. There is deterrence, there is preventive, and then of course there is the actual, grappling with a security crisis when it breaks through. The one good thing that I experienced during the week was that I had a meeting with the Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations in Lagos, and he said he was on his way from Alaba, where there is a concentration of people of Southeast origins. He said he went there to reassure them that they are safe and that we should entertain no apprehension or fear, about coming out to vote in the elections on Saturday. I was very happy about that. That if they have taken that is the kind of preventive from that standpoint. Now I can say that I reasonably expect that, the security situation will be adequately met. But you never know. As I said earlier, there are some days, whatever you do, if somebody is determined to do what look, some kings in Lagos, for instance, they've started saying that they want to commence on a traditional ritual called the Oro, right? For 3-4 days, beginning from today, that people should not come out between certain hours. You know, their timing, of course, you know, fits perfectly, you know, with the election period. And of course, you could easily see what they are trying to do with that kind of suggestion. So this is the extent to which people have gone, you know, to introduce the potential violence, you know, in the country. I mean, in Lagos State especially.
Yes, I can understand that, but let me just make a quick point here that I understand that declaration of Oro and the worship of Oro during the same period as Saturday's election, that's been clarified, and that there won't be a ban on movement during the period of the election. I don't know what you're hearing, but that's what I'm hearing, that has been clarified. But beyond that, I'm wondering, Mr. Osuntokun, if many of the Labour parties and Peter Obi's obedient movement are heartbroken after Mr. Obi came third in the official results of the presidential election, and in that regard, are they likely to give up on these governorship elections?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, you know, you were once young. Young people tend to be stubborn. You know, they don't give up that easily. What I've seen, and that makes me glad, is that people, you see a reduction.
Right. I think we lost the sound there. I'm not quite sure what happened, but he suddenly cut off in the middle of the discussion there. We will try and get back to him if we can in the last couple of minutes or so that's left, to let him at least finish what he was saying there. But I think the general thrust of it is that he's suggesting that the youth are still inspired, and it's not just on the presidential level, that he's fairly confident that there's going to be a reasonable turnout of people who were supporters of Peter Obi and his obedient movement and the Labour Party. Turnout that will be good enough to make a difference in the vote on Saturday, in spite of all the ethnic tension that we were talking about and the threat that appears to be hanging over that election. It doesn't look like they're getting him back, so I think we're going to... Right, but he's not back yet. I also was keen to ask him how much the allegations stemming from the recent presidential election of fraud, manipulation, violence, vote rigging and intimidation, along with concerns about things like Beavers and IREV, are also potentially overshadowing the anticipation for Saturday's governorship election. And I'm told that Mr. Osuntokun is back with us. I apologize, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but you were telling us about your expectations about sort of potential turnout, especially with the youth who supported Peter Obi.
Well, you know, as I said, look, when we were young, I mean, one of the typical, you know, characteristics of young people is being stubborn, you know. The only person who will profit, you know, from that attitude is the status quo that they want to change. And these are very intelligent young guys who are determined. So they know very well that, look, if they allow apathy to set in, that is precisely what who don't want their aspiration. That is what that person will wish for. But as I said, look, I like taking random samplings, you know, when I'm around, you know, look, what I've observed is a doubling down, you know, on the position that they've taken at the last presidential election. You are going to see fairly the same proportion of turnout of people who are going to vote. And they're going to vote with the determination that their votes will count. And of that, I have no reservations about saying that. So, of course, as far as I can project, Of course, I'm not a neutral umpire. But what I can see ahead, of course, is a definite victory, for our candidates in the Saturday election.
So that suggests that you don't have concerns about things like beavers and IREV and all those kinds of INEC issues potentially overshadowing your sort of positive anticipation for the governorship election on Saturday.
I was going to say that when you are trying to explain why we lost communication, that we were experiencing the same thing as INEC server, but I don't, I've always told people that, look, I have no reason to give the INEC the benefit of the doubt in whatever they want to do. I like to be pleasantly surprised by doing something good. I said that before the presidential election, and it turned out they confirmed the worst of the fears of cynics. Allocating 12 states to the three parties. Look, it is statistically improbable that APC, PDP, and LP will score 12, will win in 12 states. But you can use it, to pursue an intellectually fraudulent argument. So from this INEC, from the perspective of INEC, I leave it, they are public servants, but my opinion of them is very low. And I have every reason to have that kind of opinion. Look, even the resident electoral commissioner here, had quite a terrible pedigree in what he did when he was in Osun State, when he oversaw the Osun State governorship election in 2019 or thereabouts. We called several times. A lot of people said, look, this man, we don't change this man. It's bad news for Lagos State, but he's still there. So if we have those kind of people all over the place, and of course,
you're going to have to live with that. But in those circumstances, you've expressed your optimism that you potentially will really shake up the political landscape in Lagos on the governorship level. So we'll have to watch and see. I apologize for interrupting you, Mr. Osuntokun, but we are actually out of time. And Akin Osuntokun is the Director General of the Labour Party's Campaign Council, and he was talking to me there from Lagos.